Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Dave Abdallah.
Here.
Bill Bazzi.
Here.
Robert Constant.
Here.
Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Here.
Denise Malinowski Maxwell.
Here.
Ray Muscat.
Here.
Tom Wenzel.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Bart Bucarelli to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. At this time, we have the agenda approval.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the order of business October 9th, 2018, regular meeting at Dearborn Heights City Council as presented.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Abdallah. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have approval of minutes. This is the minutes from the regular meeting of September 25th, 2018. Councilman Abdallah?
I move that we approve the minutes from September 25th, 2018, the regular meeting of the Dearborn Heights City Council as submitted in item 4A.
Second.
Supported by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have public hearings and comments on agenda items only. During this time, we ask you come up to the microphone, take no more than 2 minutes, give us your name and your address. And again, this is for agenda items only. If it's just a general announcement or a public comment, that would be later on.
My name is Barth Bucciarelli, 4174 Gertrude, South Dearborn Heights. I would like to comment on number 11, ordinance and resolutions. I urge the council to vote yes on this resolution, amending the city community development block grant to add the repairs badly needed at the Eaton Senior Recreation Center. I've been trying 4 years to get some of this badly needed repairs completed and have been unsuccessful. Some are safety hazards and could cause some seniors to fall and break a hip or worse. The seniors count on the center to come to for many activities and must feel safe while in the center. Please vote yes, and let's get these problems taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Your name, address, and 2 minutes, please.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Krozak, and I live on Lincoln. I am requesting that this council support the resolution outlined in Agenda Item 11A. I am a proud employee of District 7 schools. District 7 cannot afford to take on the city's obligations regarding the Eaton Center. Therefore, requesting funds from the CDBG will greatly help secure the safety of our senior citizens by not taking away the money needed for the safety of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Name, address, and 2 minutes.
Zuhair Abdelhaq, 354 Rosemary. I looked at the agenda, each and every paper, even the back up. There is so much, I could talk about tonight, but I'm going just to say a few words. We have in the budget, according to the budget which it was presented to you, over $5 million of unrestricted funds. I hope instead we levy taxes of 1.05 for the judgment with Wayne County. Instead we levy it on the residents. I hope we pay that from that surplus and we give the resident a break. We pay too much tax in the city. We pay very high rate on the water, and I think we deserve a break. And I hope you vote on that to take it from the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name, address, and 2 minutes, please.
Mike Blackburn, I'm a city employee. This is in regards to 11A. The statement made that the administration neglected and overlooked the Eaton Center roof. In 1992, the city paid to have the Eaton Center replaced, and I have detailed notes of Repairs that were done under warranty, I have detailed notes of repairs done after the warranty was over. After the warranty was over, we had 25 visits by roofers that had the roof repaired in certain in sections. And the director of DPW at the time met with the director of operations back in 2017 to discuss the Eaton Center roof and see if the city and the school district could share in the cost of the new roof. The director of operations went to the school board. The school board approved going out for bids on the new roof, and the school board did not ask the city to contribute anything. They took care of it on their own. The city did not force the school district into anything at all.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, one more.
Okay, we got one more. 2 minutes, name and address.
Suzanne Todd, Academy Street. I want to voice my support for resolution under item 11A. I just want you to be aware that money dedicated to our school children had to be used for the safety of our senior citizens because the city refuses to be responsible for their obligations. By passing this resolution, D7 will have helped to secure the safety of our senior citizens and the safety and security of our children. I just wanted to give one fact. The Eaton Center has been rented out by the city for 39 years at $1 a year. That's $39 for 39 years of leasing that building. I think the city has gotten a very good deal. One other thing, for the past 11 years, our teachers have had an equivalent of approximately 1.8% increase in their pay, which amounts to 0.16% per year. And for 10 years, they went without any increases at all. This increase was just, this 1.8 increase was just in the past year. So I would like the City Council to please consider passing resolution as outlined in Agenda Item 11A. Thank you.
Thank you. Name, address, and 2 minutes, please.
Good evening, Joe Hashem, Director of CDBG. Last time I was here, I spoke about our department and what we do and how we do it and what kind of rules we have to follow. I also extended an invitation to everybody at City Council and the public to come by, ask any questions, and get to us, and we can give you the right answers. All I'm asking today is basically on this item, which is 11A, I think you guys should put that in a study session. There's a lot of information that I can provide to you that will put a better light as far as what our department can do and cannot do. And it will save everybody a lot of back and forth.
Thank you
very much.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to fund transfers and current claims.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that fund transfers and current claims 1 through 39 as outlined in item 6 be approved.
Okay.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Bazey.
again, I'm going to voice my concern on some of these and the reason why I'm voting no again. I'd like to share this with the mayor. Let's see. Okay, this is one of the cement companies that was listed here. They've gotten hundreds and thousands of dollars from the city, and this is the kind of work they do. I went and inspected a few areas. As you can see, I wouldn't even pay anybody to do that kind of work on my sidewalk. I don't know why the city's paying all this money. I don't know if they're doing the inspections, but you can look at that, Mayor.
Looks like a street.
Yes.
You said sidewalks.
I mean, it's no, I'm talking, okay, the street, or if I was paying for that, I wouldn't pay for it, but I don't know what the city's paying for that.
Who's the contractor?
I believe it was, I have it for me. I'll share it with you later, Mayor. It was the one that did the FEMA work. The other thing is for artistic, 6162. Again, we discussed this before. I'm not comfortable of voting yes on this because it's DPW work, and with the grievances that we've seen in the past, I know we can't talk about those in an open meeting, but I don't know if we can move those to a closed meetings with grievances that we're getting. Not sure if they're from DPW, and these are supposed to be done by DPW. It's city property. It was mentioned at the last meeting that the TPOM contract was done, but yet we're still seeing charges here by legal fees discussing TPOM. So if that's if the contract's been done, I don't know why we're paying that. That's it.
Who's billing the legal fees? Are they?
In here.
Hey.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I have a few questions. The first one is 618 for Hard Rock Concrete, $25,344. They still haven't repaired the cement slabs out on Hass that they did. That cost the taxpayers a lot of money to redo Hass, and we're still paying them any money. It's now the middle of getting pretty close to the middle of October, and that hasn't been repaired yet. And I really don't want to pay them anything until they rip up the bad cement and replace it like they said they would. And we keep paying them, and next thing you know, they're going to have all their money, and we're going to have cement that's going to be peeling up, and it's a year old. So I'd like maybe even if we send this back to the administration for consideration and see about calling them up and getting that work done. I mean, Silver Lane is done, Hass is done, George is now done, and have them go out there and fix this.
I think Mr. Brooks would like to respond.
Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
I talked to him last week regarding getting Hass done. They intend to do it this year, and you have more in retainage to cover that work if they don't do it.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. They have enough money in the retainage on the contract to get that work done. If they don't do it, we pull it out of the retainage. And they intend to do it this year. I talked to him last week, and he still has it scheduled to do it this fall.
Okay, then I will withdraw my statement on that. Okay, so just that. The next one is on 626, the Plant Moran audit. When we do the audit, and I believe Mr. Mayor will probably be able to answer this through the chair if he may. When they do their review, do they do review like the CSO funds and the Act 345 funds, or those are admitted when they do the their audit?
The 345 funds are so material that they have to do a review of it, and a detailed review, because one of the things CPAs are always governed by is materiality, and those are very material. What was the other one?
For the CSO.
The CSO, it's kind of unique because, yeah, they are involved, and also they have a person, Mary Beth, I'm not sure it was Mary Beth, who watches these for all of the Western Wayne County area. So our auditors will talk to, and Beth works for Plant Moran, so yes.
The reason I don't see them, the professional services rendered, I don't see them here. That's why I wanted to ask why they're not included.
Yeah, they're not omitted by the fact that they're not included on here, but they would be incorporated in some of that would be in the water and sewer fund.
Correct.
And so that would cover that aspect. The corporate fund would also include the Act 345 also.
Okay, and then I have more if you don't mind, please. 628 are legal expenses on page 5, I believe it is. When Mr. McIntyre, our ordinance director, caught the gentleman dumping in the, which was a great job. Why are we litigating this? Shouldn't that be part of the EPA and let them handle this? I mean, I know we have ordinance, but the EPA is much more better to handle people dumping into the grease and oil out in the sewers.
Well, part of the reason for ending up having any sort of local regulation is to make sure that we are able to address these things as quickly as possible. We've had issues sometimes trying to rely on the state or the feds to end up enforcing and take action, and this, I think, was a totally appropriate action that was taken, and I think we got good results. And I think Mr. McIntyre would probably indicate that it's had reverberations probably through a number of these types of contractors that would be beneficial to the city.
And also, Mark Roberts has been in contact. Both the county reached out to him as well as the DEQ. I think they're going to file their own separate charges against his company.
Okay, thank you. And the 635, and I want to apologize to Director Hashem that I didn't call him earlier, but I caught this too late in the day. The Vista Maria rehab. Is there any paperwork on this? Do we have any invoice on the work that was done?
Well, in reality, they should have never made it to this particular section of City Council. It's a budgeted item that you guys already approved. The City Council has.
Okay.
No, we did.
Yes, we do have all the paperwork. We have a dossier.
So pull it off the agenda.
Okay, well.
In reality, it doesn't need City Council approval. I don't know why you made it here, to be honest with you. Because it's budgeted in and the rest has it.
So what do we do with it now? I mean.
You can just notify.
Well, hold on.
No, we can pull it.
There's two people involved in the process. One is the city treasurer, and we have a checks and balances. I would recommend that the council approve this because, number one, given the dollar amount, I don't, and I would not, I think we're better off showing these and having council approve it than not. I wouldn't feel comfortable just.
But we can get those invoices anytime. Okay, and that works for me. And then one here, I guess this is going to go back to our engineer. The street repairs for Lewis Manor. That again hasn't been repaired yet either. We were supposed to go out there and fix part of on Fairwood there, where it was the asphalt was coming up and the middle was splitting open.
Right, I'm still working with the contractor trying to get him out there to fix that, so it's.
But we're paying
it's
another
working.
$9,400 for it, and if we pay him, we're not guaranteed he's going to go out there.
Which item are you talking?
It's your invoice, Wade and Trim's invoice.
Oh, it's our invoice.
It's not the contractor.
Not the contractor. There's still retainage on the project.
Okay, so this is just pay for. Okay, I'm sorry, and that's just wanted to make sure that we get that street fixed because.
Right, we're still working with
throwing
them.
good money at bad, and I got one more question on 638 for the Wayne County traffic signal maintenance. When they come out, I was driving down Cherry Hill. I was going eastbound on Cherry Hill, and I got to John Daly. When they do the lights, they do them all the way across on either side of the road for Inkster and Dearborn Heights?
All of us contract with the county, and the logic that was given to me years ago, and it makes sense, by having the county do this work, they have the liability. And what happens is, mostly it's our police officers, but as they're driving around, they'll call dispatch and say, a light's out. Although the county has regular maintenance for all traffic lights, if one of them goes out, let's say the red light or the green light, dispatch will call, and it's a 24/7, I believe they answer 24/7, but they'll then dispatch a truck to change the bulb in there. So the county does, I think, all of Wayne County. I don't know about the city of Detroit, but all the suburbs are included, and that change was made probably 25 years ago. And before, a lot of the cities would contract out with a private company, and this way, it's all being done and maintained. It's one of the things the county does well, from my
the reason I question is because the traffic light at Cherry Hill and John Daly, traveling eastbound right at John Daly, the shields are all gone off the light. Sometimes when the sun is shining, you can't see if it's red, yellow, or green, and we're just getting billed for it, and the shields are gone. So I would think that somebody missed something.
Would that go through dispatch for?
I will check. We'll check. Usually, we call Wayne County any of the county lights. We call them, and they.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair. Councilman Abdullah's next.
Madam Chair, I had a question for our treasurer, John Riley. I've already spoken with Robert Ancraft, but just in case, for the residents' sake, on item number 6.8, this is one with Dearborn Heights Acquisitions and Development LLC and the bills for Key, where the amount of money was returned for the amount of $35,975. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation on that, if you don't mind?
That was one of the rehab housing part of the project, but that particular property, the house had been demoed, so there's no house for them to rehab. And so the contractor said, well, I'm not interested in purchasing that property. And so his initial check, which was a cashier's check to the city, was cashed, and we put that money aside. But rather than just refunding it, I just thought it would be prudent to bring it before the board so everybody was aware of what the situation was.
Do we sell it back now to any interested party as a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it's now part of the city's inventory for a vacant lot, and, the city can decide on how they want to dispose of that.
Okay. So it's on to be demoed, or it's already?
It's been demoed already.
Okay, thank you.
So that was by accident got demoed, or?
No, that was a problem house that we all were involved with.
Yeah, it should have never been included as one of the properties. When we originally were going through this, there were 21 properties, and I had advised Mr. Ancraft that anything that was vacant, did not have a building, because the RFP package in the contract says you have to rehab a building, should not be included. And it was missed that that one did not have a building on it. So, I believe Mr. Ancraft discussed that with Mr. Roberts and confirmed that that was the appropriate thing, too.
Right.
Okay. Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Back to 626, not a question, but not a question with billing, but back to the audit for fiscal year 17-18. That typically, is that completed at this point? Because normally we bring it to study session by middle of October, early November?
This is progress billing. It's not completed. They're still performing their field work. Today, as I passed through the room, there were 2 auditors in there, so they still have field work. This is a progress billing.
All right, I appreciate that, thank you. Just because I was looking for the, and I have a copy of it, but I was looking for the audit for the previous year, which would be fiscal year 16-17, and it's no longer on the website. So I had a few questions, residents had called me about that, and if we, normally that's usually posted until we accept the new audit, so wanted to note it's no longer on the website.
Councilman Wenzel?
Yeah, a few meetings ago, we had a discussion about the grass cutting. It was stated to the body here that the DPW employees were refusing overtime, and I made a statement about how we should get down a little bit harder on the process of overtime. And since then, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've heard just the opposite story. So I want to take back my statement. And I think we should do something about this, because it's a he said, she said And my idea would be to get the employees, not just the DPW, but maybe in the next 6 months, all the city employees to meet with city council in a closed session, just the employees, no administration whatsoever, and let them talk freely, because a lot of times they won't come out to these meetings and speak their mind. It's pretty obvious why. And I think we should do that, like I say, for the next 6 months with all the different bodies. Because one thing I learned at city council is you ask a question and you get an answer, and then you kind of want to believe that, but now every time you get an answer, you have to check and make sure that answer is right. So no matter who you're hearing things from, you have to do your homework before you make a statement. I'm sorry I made a statement like that. And one other thing I want to know is, Mr. Blackburn, the curb repairs on Hanover Street, the driveway approach replacements, who's the contractor on that?
The demo company.
It was, you talking about where the houses were torn down?
Yes.
That would be the demo company.
Oh, because that workmanship is very, very poor. I've had 2 different contractors come by and look at it. They didn't put the gutter in where the water will not flow. Once it hits that driveway repair, it backs up. The quality is very shoddy. I don't know if we paid them on that or not, but anybody you talk to, any contractor, you tell them, look at that, they start laughing at that quality of work.
They worked with the DPW director on how to put that in, and they also, I don't know if Dan Brooks, but one of the engineers went out and looked at that.
Yeah, they got to look at that, because I even had one of our big contractors from E&N look at it. He says that is not the way you do it, because there's no gutter. That water goes along the curb, and it's a little indentation where it flows, and when it comes to those approaches, they just went straight out and made a dam there on every one of those approaches. Fill in. You ask, go look at it. I don't see if, obviously no one's looked at it because it's very poor quality.
I look at it. I look at it 3
And
times.
it's very
a week.
rough. The
Please
cement
don't
work
say
is
that.
very rough. It's
Yeah,
not smooth.
We agree. It's not done right,
Yeah.
and it's got to get corrected.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Adela.
Just want to say to Councilman Wenzel in regards to a meeting, I don't mind meeting, but just for clarification, that would be against the Open Meetings Act because of the fact that we would all be there, and it cannot be a closed session.
Or we can maybe split it up. I don't know.
I think it's pretty important to get everybody, not just DPW, everyone in the city, because if we're going to have transparency, we got to know everything that's going on, not just.
Like I said, I don't mind a meeting, but I'm just clarifying that it cannot be a closed session if we go in that direction.
Okay. We'll work something out.
Yeah.
That is correct. And if you try to split it up among different parts of it and are still trying to gain information in that way, that also violates the Open Meetings
But
Act.
that's only if we're making decisions, isn't it? If we're not voting on something or making
If you're doing
decisions.
something that will come to a decision or potentially come to a decision, then you are violating the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, I'll research that.
Thanks. Thanks, Dave.
All right.
Well, I understand. I don't mind meeting, though.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Bazey is opposed. Next on the agenda is consideration of bids. We have an Emergency Management Coordinator, Laszlo, to advertise for bids for the 2016 Home Acquisition Grant Appraisal Services.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Odella.
I'd like to concur with Emergency Management Coordinator Christina Laszlo with the City of Dearborn Heights has been awarded another grant to purchase homes on Courier and Hanover, west of Telegraph. And just for clarification, the earlier phase was east of Telegraph. Along the Ecorse Creek, Assistant Corporation Counsel Harry Kalogerakos has reviewed the grant, and the city, I probably killed that one.
Ramlis.
Yeah, well, you're Greek, you ought to be able to pronounce this.
Kalogerakos.
Kalogerakos has reviewed the grant, and the city is now ready to advertise for bids for appraisal services as outlined in item 7A.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Bazey?
With this, I'd like to see the raw data for who actually submitted bids before we approve any funding to which company is chosen by I don't know who, but I'd like to see the raw bids that when they come in before a decision's made on which company gets, or which appraiser gets the work.
Okay, Mrs. Laszlo?
Yeah, this is an approval to go out for bids. The money was already funded by the last council. This is an approval to go out for bids. Once I look at the RFPs and see who's the most qualified and who's the cheapest, I bring it back to council, and then you award the bids from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilman Abdullah?
I had a question for Christina.
Uh-huh.
The last time we did this, when we had the bids with the appraisers on Hanover east of Telegraph, we had a situation, without getting into the details of it, but we had a situation with one of the appraisers. Can we just make sure we avoid that situation again?
Yes, there was a couple issues. There was the first time, we had to go out to bid twice because we didn't get enough appraisers.
Correct.
And then with that situation, if that particular person does, I don't know if I can say this, Gary, if they bid again, that will be looked at. And that's why I said
Could
it's
be
the
considered
most,
disqualified.
right, it's the most qualified
That's where my
and the
concern
cheapest.
is at,
Right.
is that we don't go in that direction again.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion's carried. Next, we have reports from Mayor. Commission on Aging reappointment.
Council Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Council Chair. Move to concur with the reappointment of Ms. Jennifer Scheibe to the Commission on Aging, term to expire on April 2019 as presented.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Dearborn Heights Supervisors Association Letter of Understanding.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I'd like to concur with Mayor Dan Paletko, who's got a proposal here to have some language in the firefighters union contract that needs to be added / clarified to reflect the current retirement package that they receive. Labor attorney Sue Bartos reviewed and approved the language, and therefore he is asking that we approve the attached letter of understanding between the City of Dearborn Heights and Dearborn Heights Professional Firefighters Union Local 1355 as outlined in item 8B.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I spoke with Chief Brogan on this, and yeah, since he doesn't do any negotiations, my question is, are these uniforms that they're going to get, are these required uniforms that they have to have?
What do you say?
Can anybody answer that? Chief?
Yeah. Yes, they are required uniforms they have to have, Councilman.
So if they're required, why aren't they coming out of the fire department budget? I mean, we're adding it onto their final compensation, which at the end, the taxpayers have to foot the bill on their retirement. I mean, this is something, if it's equipment that's got to be purchased to do your job with, that should be bought for and paid for by the fire department budget.
Yeah, this is like the uniform I'm wearing right now. This is a good example of it. And so that money's for the laundering, for the care of it, for your shoes, for, I mean, in your dress uniform, your all the work T-shirts you see. All the firefighters buy those, and they buy them throughout the year. And this is how that's funded.
Well, I understand, but I mean, if it's a requirement, that should be paid for through the fire department budget.
Yeah,
shouldn't be. You should. The onus shouldn't be put on myself to buy you your uniform if it's something that you need to have to do your job, is all I'm getting at. And then for the taxpayers to have to go back now and pay for more retirement, because obviously being that put on their calculated for their year-end compensation, that changes their retirement. And I don't feel the taxpayers should have to foot that bill. That's the way I look at it. Now, I could be 100% wrong, so be it, but this is how I feel about it.
Yeah, if I could, I do know that it's been done this, I mean, for past practice, I'm sure you're familiar with union contracts, this has been done this way for 50 years. This is just a clarification of the language, and to not do that now would be a change of that contract, would be a negotiated item, and so I think that.
So what I don't understand, that if that's the case, then what is new on the language if it's something that we've always had?
it wasn't specifically stated, and so they were looking to clarify that, although it's been, I mean, so the firefighters, we pay into that as well. So for 50 years, we've been paying, all of our firefighters have been paying pension on that income when they get it. And so to undo that now would be a logistical nightmare, and with past practice, I don't think the union would accept that either.
Okay.
What I would suggest we do, if there's a direction that we want to go in a different direction, let's bring that up during the next negotiations. This was to clarify a past practice that my understanding is the pension board thought it should be clarified, and that's why it's here, because I can't just sign these things, but it's to clarify it.
And the change looks like it's the bolded item, which says specifically that will be included in the member's final average compensation, FAC.
Right.
If I may, Council Chair, there was a series of litigation many years ago involving Gentili was the name of the case, and there were a whole bunch of cases that were brought where basically this type of issue was, look, final average compensation should include all these different things, and that kind of set the tone for all of these things like Chief Brogan is referring to, and I would agree with him that it would be a problem in terms of past practice because it was established by litigation and then it was incorporated in contracts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Council Chair.
Councilman Abdullah?
Question is for Council Miyake. Just want to make sure, not to be technical here, but in the third sentence it says package that should be they received. If that's irrelevant, then that's fine, but I just want to make sure so this is not, because as you know, one word can totally switch the sentence.
Councilman, I'm sorry, I'm...
On the first page, I'm sorry, right here.
Yeah, package that...
They received.
I think what's operative in this situation, you probably
a typo, but
it looks like it's a typo.
As long as it wouldn't affect.
Well, clarify to reflect the current retirement package that they, yeah, it should be they receive, but given the fact that the letter of understanding is the operative document.
Okay. So long as it's okay, that's all. Just being an English teacher.
Councilman Wenzel?
Are we paying retirees retroactive on this, or and if we are, or how did anybody come up with a dollar figure on what this is going to cost?
No, Treasurer Riley is shaking his head no. I think this is just a clarification.
Treasurer Riley?
Yeah. These funds have already been paid. They've already been included in their final average compensation as it has been stated in the past practice. This is just documenting what has been happening. And it all came about as the auditors were doing their audit and they were looking at the FAC. That couldn't be, we couldn't show a document that shows that that was the way that it was supposed to be. And so that's what needed to come forward with the letter of understanding. But that has been the past practice. They've been paid that. They've withheld pension money from their uniform allowance, meaning that it wasn't, and it's been included in their FAC for years and years and years.
Okay, so this is nothing we're going to have to repay someone for.
It's nothing different that's already been happening.
Okay, all right.
And it happens with the police union, both of the police unions also.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Abdullah, please.
Just want to state, since we're talking about firefighters, I want to give a little shout out to our firefighters and the chief. There was a major accident right in front of our office at Fordham Beach Daily, and just want to give a shout out to all the guys and gals that you had come out there. I mean, they were there within, seems like seconds, and everybody was traumatized, obviously, and everybody was panicking, and just the way they handled everything A to Z. I was just standing out from the outside watching them, you know, putting their lives in danger and handling everything just A-plus way. So I just want to give you guys a shout out and good job for doing your jobs at a top level. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion at this time? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, under reports from mayor, we have WDHT Cable Studio.
HC.
They wrote it.
Oh, you missed C.
Oh. They typed it wrong.
Yeah, I'm reading this. They wrote it. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
The city council, okay, let's start. The city receives PEG fees from WOW Comcast, and AT&T, and these funds are restricted to...
No.
8C.
8C.
Sorry, I missed that, sorry. I move that we concur with Mayor Dan Paletko in regards to the pension, Attorney Jack Timoney and Linda Vance. There's some language from DPW Supervisors Association contract that needs to be added or clarified to reflect the current retirement package that they receive. And Labor Attorney Beth Ray O'Donnell reviewed and approved the package. Therefore, he's asking that we approve the attached letter of understanding between the City of Dearborn Heights and Dearborn Heights Supervisors Association and authorize the city clerk to sign it as outlined in item 8C.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat?
Again, this is going to be the same question. Is this something we've always done? Because here it says, in the beginning, it says added or clarified. Now, is it added or is it clarified?
Clarify. But I'll let the treasurer...
Have we always done this in the past?
Not for the DPW supervisors. This was the new contract that was just adopted, and it was my understanding that that was a part of it, and so we were clarifying the FAC for that particular one. That contract was just approved, I think, a while
So
back.
we didn't see this in the contract when we approved the contract.
That's my understanding.
I apologize. I thought this was police.
No.
And when I answered.
We've never done this before. I'd like to look at this a little bit more and see what it's actually going to cost the taxpayers.
Okay, so that was part of that actuarial valuation that you did receive as it relates to that contract. I know that that was part of it. So if you do, so we already have those numbers, is what I'm saying. You may not have them here before you, but they do. But they were supplied, and they can be given to you.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Bazey?
I recommend moving this to a study session, because I'd like to review the contract, what we had before, and I guess bounce it off this one here.
But we have a motion on the table already.
So we have to address the motion.
Amend the motion.
I mean, this is just like opening up the contract again.
Yeah.
We have a recommendation to...
Who made the motion?
The person that made the motion.
Councilman Abdullah.
Madam Chair, we do have a motion on the floor, and it would require a vote before, unless someone amends it. But what I'm hearing, it is included in the contract that City Council had just approved, and it was included in the actuarial report numbers that we were provided. So we've already addressed all this. It's just for clarification.
Okay, so it's in the contract already, is what we're saying.
Right.
Okay.
It's already approved by both parties, on both sides.
Okay. I was just...
What was it, November?
I just want to make sure that this was in the contract that we approved. That's all.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I just don't think, honestly, start this motion.
And I'm okay with it if it's already been there. I mean, that's all, that's all that needs to be clarified.
Then we...
Okay, is there any further discussion at this time?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Bazey?
I mean, one of the questions Councilman Muscat mentioned is it added or modified. So I think we need to change this to say... For clarified, I'm sorry, not added, take the word added then.
Can we make that change now?
Yeah, just to clarify.
Just strike the word added for the record and be clarified.
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Wenzel.
How many supervisors do we have in the DPW?
6? 7.
7?
I missed one.
Now, this only goes for 200 hours. What happens after 200 hours of overtime, or how does that work, the 200-hour figure?
They accumulate as much overtime as they can throughout the year. Police and fire are allowed to roll up all of their overtime included in their final average compensation. State laws dictate, which was taken away, but there's a common trend of 240 hours of overtime that's allowed in per individual in their final average compensation. This takes that first 200 hours that they earn and puts it into their final average compensation. So it's included in their retirement.
So when they accumulate 200 hours, what happens from that point?
Nothing. They're just now allowed to accumulate. Those 200 hours are now allowed to go towards the pension.
Okay.
First 200.
First 200.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is WDHT Cable Studio.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Adela.
We have a letter here from Mayor Dan Plesko, and it says, "Dear council members, while I did not expect immediate action on item 7A of the September 25th, 2018 meeting, he thought the council would schedule a study session to discuss this matter. The city council should be made aware that the equipment at the cable studio is antiquated and at any time subject to complete failure. The equipment is so old that replacement parts may not be available. The city receives PEG fees from WOW, Comcast, and AT&T. These funds are restricted and can only be used for operations/equipment related to cable TV equipment. As of June 30th, 2017, the city audit showed a balance of $837,062. These are funds that the mayor would recommend that we pay for the project. In addition, Ms. Siham Jafer and his staff have been researching other studios and equipment, and Ms. Jafer has presented to the mayor a vision of what the studio would become, and it would be exciting with a chance to actually generate revenue as outlined in item 8D.
Okay.
Support.
Support.
To move it to a study session.
There's a motion on the
If I
floor.
might, Madam Chair, I mean, we have a few people here that could respond. Bob Ancrap, Stan, Chrissy.
Well, there's a
But
motion on the floor.
the equipment, we run the risk that you will not, people will not be able to see console shows, because this equipment, I mean, Stan could talk to it better than I can, but it's ancient stuff.
The equipment that we do have in our studio is very, very old. It's equipment from the 80s. It's we've had numerous cameras, tape decks. We're still using tape decks in our studio. Both Council Chairwoman Denise and Mr. Bazzi were there one time for a mayor show, and one of the lights caught fire, and the fire department had to be called in. So this is how old our equipment is, and we are desperately in need of upgrades.
Yep.
So are we moving this to go to a study session, voting on it to go to a study session, or?
Yeah, what I would recommend, and then the group can outline to all of you what CHOM's vision is, and what the crew members or the people that participate in this, and talk to you what we would like to establish.
Wow, that would be good, because I've got some serious questions about this.
Okay. Councilman Abdullah?
So I'd like to amend my motion and to change it to move this particular item on item 8D to a study session.
Support.
Okay, supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Wenzel?
If I have one thing cleared up here, generate revenue, I thought we weren't allowed to generate any revenue under the guidelines of community cable TV.
I'm not aware of that.
Can't take advertisers.
It's not advertising.
It's not advertising.
How can you generate revenue?
Okay, what would happen is, once we have current state-of-the-art cameras and those kind of lighting and all that, there are people who would rent the studio out to do their own shows, maybe for podcasts or other things, and we would charge them a fee to use our particular studio. So that's how I think we're going to generate, or was there other ideas?
To my knowledge, I have no idea about that, but I was always told we weren't allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to advertise, you're allowed to rent out.
Yeah, because advertising we can't, under federal rules is what I was told, although, but to rent it out, so someone did their own show to put on another
own
alternative.
purpose, I guess.
That would be acceptable. So that's how we would generate the revenue. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we're going to be getting thousands and millions of dollars. I don't anticipate that, but there is a possibility that it would defray the cost. These PEG fees is what they call them, were in all the early cable contracts, and then the state passed a law that restrict it, but the cable companies still are required to give local communities that have this kind of an operation. So like not all cities have a studio any longer, but we think that this is pretty exciting and also will ensure that council meetings and other city events will be able to be shown on our station, because right now, at any point in time, in fact, Mr. Ancraft told me that the last time on Stan, one of you, I don't remember what it was that broke, but they went on the internet. Bob, if you can point out where you found that at.
Yeah, one of the problems we've been running into, as Stan mentioned, the equipment itself is incredibly old. Unfortunately, with a lot of the cameras and a lot of the decks and things of that nature, when something goes on those, we have to go to eBay, look for old used equipment that matches that. We'll buy it, we'll send it off to our technicians in Ann Arbor. They'll dismantle that piece we just acquired, pull the usable parts out of it, and then put it in the equipment that we're using. So it's a tough situation. It really is. It's a lot of that equipment, as Stan well knows, is on borrowed time.
And not to mention, it's also very expensive to do that as well.
It was. I remember that.
Wouldn't it violate the PEG fees, using the PEG fees to make money? Using them fees?
I would not, I don't have a problem even if we had a policy, we're not going to run it. I mean, that's the reason I brought this here was twofold. One is the equipment is so old that I wanted to let the council know what the staff has all told me, that this thing could break tomorrow and there will be no cable TV in the city of Dearborn Heights. It's that urgent. Secondly, that there is a desire to upgrade the particular studio that would allow alternative programming, for instance, like by increasing the size of the space, we could have, like, give you an example, a cooking show. Maybe we have a cooking right in that operation, like you'll see on other TV variety shows where they do a cooking thing. So it expands the kinds of things and showing offerings that we're going to be able to do. I'm really, this is not my concept personally, but I bought into it and I'm very excited about it, that we're not utilizing this to the extent we can. So it's really twofold. One is to make sure that we don't go off the air permanently and drastically have to do something. And secondly, to come up with some very creative programming, and also with that, because we're on analog, right? And what happens when you look at the show, and I've had numerous people and they go, boy, your station is like, I go from, high definition, I got a high definition TV, I go to watch a program in a high definition, then I switch to your channel, and it's like, it's not black and white and going back to the 50s with antenna, but it's just about.
And that's exactly right. We are still using old standard definition equipment. That's why everything looks fuzzy. That's why we have to reformat this for television. It's why the council meetings and some shows have letterbox bars over them, because it's two different types of formats that we have to use.
I'm not against getting new equipment, but, I'm just making sure we're going to do it all legally. I've been in there a few times, and the most asked question is, you smell something burning?
Well, here's what we can do, yes. Because we do have one attorney, and because when we negotiated these contracts and when issues come up, and we can ask him.
Yeah, Neil Lato.
Neil Lato, who's the expert in this. We don't use him very often, but we can have Neil Lato give us an opinion as to what kind of money-making operations we can do with this.
Great. All right.
Thanks. Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Madam Chair, I agree. I think going to a study session is a good idea, because certainly I think the upgrades are needed. and necessary, and I support that. But I also agree with Councilman Muscat that we need clarification regarding this is restricted funds and how those funds have been used over the year. So I hope that is part of the discussion as well, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Bazey.
Also, there's nothing in here that mentions, what is anticipated, how much money we're going to spend. Is it the $837,000, or for the study session, we need clarification on how much money is involved?
Well, at this point, we do not know, and what we want to do is listen to the people involved with the cable TV as to what their ideas are, and then the next step would be to hire, I would assume, an architect who would design. So you're right in at the beginning to help us before we design what it is we're going to do, and then the architect would design it, we'd go out for bids, and that whole process, but that takes time. My fear is that based upon, I don't know that we got 6 more months. What you guys have all told me is this equipment could break tomorrow.
It's day to day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, also...
Councilman Bazey.
Also, I need clarification. When somebody mentioned that we're going to expand the studio, are we taking room away from the rec room from the senior citizens? So that has to be also clarified for the study session.
Sure, we can talk in discussion about that. I do know that part of the upgrade was also to upgrade here in the council chambers for better audio, for more cameras, so that we wouldn't have to be zooming and tilting and all that to get a better quality production for the meetings. But yeah, we can be available for a study session to discuss all of that.
Great, perfect.
Thanks, Dan.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving this to a study session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next is under reports from city officials. We have Assessor Fuco, millage for downriver disposal system bonds.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with Anthony Fuoco, certified assessor for the city of Dearborn Heights, who's established the December 2018 millage for the downriver sewage disposal cited on the tax bills as EPA. The millage is calculated as follows: 2018 judgment payment, $1,187,023.53, and the other numericals, I don't want to repeat all of them here, for a millage requested by Tony Fuoco for 1.0538 as outlined in item 9A.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
My thing is after I read over the Miller Canfield opinion letter on the CSO money that we're just sitting there. We sure can use that money on this. We can use it. There's no reason we add another 1.0538 mils to the citizens of this city. People need tax relief. They don't want more taxes. And we can use that according to the opinion from Miller Canfield. There's plenty of money in there to pay this off. We should just pay it and be done with it.
Madam Chair, if I might, and I'll ask John Riley to maybe join me in this. This particular debt is something that, about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, the whole area was, the EPA came down and said, you've got major pollution difficulties in the downrivers in the Western Wayne. And what happened is, it went through, now he's passed away, but Judge Fikens, who's a federal judge. And the communities, when he mandated all these improvements, the communities went to Judge Fikens, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Miyake, and said, Judge, we have no way to pay this number. There is no way we can pay this. And Judge Fikens authorized this downriver sewage disposal financing plan in his final judgment. Consequently, all the communities in the downriver, and I think most of them in Western Wayne, pay this, and it's a special assessment that Judge Fikens had ordered. Now, when you start commingling one surplus debt with this, I don't know the implications of that. This is federal debt. It was an order of Judge Fikens. I want to save people as much as you do, but you could seriously jeopardize that this particular debt judgment, and I would strongly suggest you do not do that. But John, what's your take on it?
Well, and I'm not an attorney, but I believe that this is for the downriver sewer system, correct, which is a debt issues that were not issued by the city of Dearborn Heights. The city of Dearborn Heights, during the cleanup, has CSO bondings that we had to do bonding, and we have done some bonding already, and we had the voters approved a millage to pay for it, and we have excess capacity there to pay. But I don't think that you want to pay for Wayne County or outstanding debt millage that it doesn't belong to the city of Dearborn Heights. I did not read the opinion. I know the opinion was being passed around today. I haven't looked at it in years, but I believe that the opinion is that it's used for our outstanding debts. And so we have currently some outstanding debt related to CSO, combined sewer overflows, and we're going to have more because I know that there are more overflows that are going to have to be cleaned up that are going to be city debt that we're going to have to pay for.
Well, if the citizens of Dearborn Heights are paying for it, it's our debt. Yeah, I don't know how you want to look at it.
Well, right,
if
but
it comes
like
out of my
this
pocket
debt,
and I live in Dearborn Heights,
you know, Ray, I mean, you make it seem simpler than it is. It's not that simple.
I understand it, but, but the wording, the semantics of it's not city debt, it is city debt.
Debt that is related to the downriver sewer system so that we'd stopped overflows. They had to clean up the treatment plant. Correct. They've issued debt for that, and now the judge has allowed us to do it. There's a reduction in this millage from last year, and because it's only used to pay what we have to pay for that debt. You know, I think you can go ahead. I guess I wouldn't say go ahead and do it, but you better call some attorneys if you're not going to do it, because this is a very serious issue.
Here's that overage, because Mr. Brooks, we have, and in fact, we need to sit down with the council, because there are 2 CSO projects that are coming up, and rather than issue new debt, what I was going to recommend is that overage be used for these mandated CSO, because they're like debt and they would be issued by the city. But I am very fearful that this debt, which is not city, it's Wayne County with an order, if you reduce it, would you be able to go back to next year when you use up your surplus?
Well, this is my concern. My concern is that I would do deference to the people who have ended up actually looking at the letter. However, being an attorney and having looked at that letter some time ago, my recollection is that there are certain priorities and classifications of debt.
Right.
I don't know that this would necessarily fall in it. Just because it's a debt, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a debt that falls in the priority where the money can end up being used. And if you mess this up, Judge Cox, who took over for Judge Fikens, will haul us into court faster than you can see anything. And he's not really going to be all that impressed. He's the person who tells other people what they're supposed to do. And we could have very serious problems if we do not end up doing what's required by the consent decree.
Okay, because we've got Councilman Bazey here
Madam
that's
Chair.
next. He has to be next.
Okay, first I have a problem with the date of the letter from Wayne County. It's April. I don't know why it just popped up. How convenient, as somebody mentioned before. This did not come up during the budget. We were going over the budget. I have a problem with that. Like all of a sudden, I mean, we're in October, and this thing popped up, and it didn't pop up when we were discussing budget. The second item, I concur with Councilman Muscat, but having the money come out of the CSO fund, or also, as the mayor mentioned, you know, a couple of months ago, he said we have a lot of money somewhere, and also there was $2 million, so I don't know why we don't pay it out of that fund, and I don't know why we're overburdening the residents for more taxes. So I'm opposing this.
Okay.
One more follow-up.
Councilman Muscat?
When do we expect this debt to be paid for?
Which debt?
This right here. I mean, it's bonded, right? I mean,
It is already bonded. It goes on the December tax.
Goes on the December taxes, so it's not part of the summer millage, which is part of what Mr. Bott is saying.
and
It's
you're
always
saying-
been levied in the winter.
And you're saying that the millage request has gone down?
Yes, it has. Last year, it was 1.2388 mils. This year, it's 1.538. It's gone down 0.185 mils.
So this is just a renewal of what we've been doing to pay this down?
For 15, 20 years. Because, again, these debts are not city debts. They're a debt issue for Wayne County to clean up the sewage plant that we use.
And when is this expected to be paid for? Do we have any idea?
I don't have the answer to that. I'd have to find out.
But that surplus in the CSO can be, in fact, we're going to need it because one of the items is we don't have, right now, if we don't use that surplus, we'd have to increase water rates or something to pay for it.
Okay, so it's something that we're paying for. This is a renewal. It's not a new.
No.
It's
Okay, we have Councilman Abdallah here that wants to be next.
So it's something that's been paid for, just to clarify, I mean, that's not what I had to ask, but it's something that we've been paying for the last, I think you mentioned 20 years?
20 years.
The same amount, give or take, add or subtract?
They do it by what debt needs to be paid. So the letter comes from Wayne County, and then the assessor has always come to the council with this particular communication to pay for that debt.
So for an average resident, hypothetically, with to keep it simple, $100,000 home, the amount on their tax bill is not, based on multiple years, like you just mentioned, it's not going to be drastically higher or lower. It's going to be about the same for this particular part of it.
Well, yes.
So it's not something new they're going to be paying for.
That is correct.
Okay. The second question I had, Mr. Mayor, can we use the money, I know we have a little bit extra in the water fund. Can that be used for something like this?
No, once again, this was a order by Judge Fikens. He ordered the communities, but Wayne County, serving as a agent for the communities, issued the bonds, and then this letter gets generated to everybody's assessors, and we all have to pay this particular amount. That was Judge Fikens' solution, because we all told him, like in the city of Dearborn Heights, we're going to come up with this kind of money. And so he said, I will rule that, I'm ruling that the improvements have to be done to clean up the treatment plant, and I'm giving you a basis to pay for it by ordering this judgment to be put on the tax rolls. But it is not city debt per se, it's county, but the judgment levy is on us. Where the excess of the CSO, and we've got the 3 other CSOs, rather than bond it or bonding a lesser amount would be what I recommend, and then that way the taxpayers will get a break.
So what's going to happen? I know we had been in a process of taking over the disposal plant on the river from the county.
Yes. And that's been done.
Right.
We closed last week or two.
Right. So now that it's done, what's going to happen with this? Is this going to go away next year?
No. One of the things that we spent weeks on, and there was bond counsel, Miller Canfield, Paddock and Stone, if that's still the firm name.
I think they're more Miller Canfield.
Miller Canfield was hired by the Downriver Wastewater Authority, which board I serve on. And one of the concerns we had was we still needed this levy to continue. So the state of Michigan, the county of Wayne, and as part of the agreement for buying the system, it was agreed this had to be left alone. So the same way that this has operated for the last 15 or 20 years, it will go on until these bonds.
And how long is that roughly?
I would assume they're probably 30-year bonds. Wouldn't you think so, John? They're normally 30-year
So the residents
bonds.
will be paying for this for another 30 years, I'm sorry, 15 years roughly.
15.
No,
15
yeah.
more years roughly.
Maybe 10 years or something.
Okay.
But so it was carved out of the agreement they did go to Judge Cox and ask him, and he did not, he said, I don't want to rule on this. You guys all agree, take my predecessor, Judge Fikens, just do it the way you've been doing it for all these years, because I don't want to rule on it. I'm not going to get in all the details as to why he didn't want to rule on it, but he did not want to rule on it. So this debt is carved out. The other thing that, that's basically the only thing, but we were all scared on a transition, and we bought the system from Wayne County, what we were going to do, because this is significant. And it also, so anyway, that's the story about this.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, at this time, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Bazey's opposed? Muscat's opposed? No. Malinowski's opposed. Next item on the agenda is Brownfield Administrator Roscoe, 2018-2019 proposed Brownfield budget.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that we concur with our Tifa and Brownfield Administrator, Tom Roscoe, and approve the proposed budget as outlined in item 9B.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Human Resource Director Swoboda Perry, Employee Assistance Program, also EAP.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with Elizabeth Swoboda Perry, our HR Director, requesting mayoral concurrence and Honorable City Council's approval to continue our contractual relationship with EAP provider Uliance as outlined in item 9C.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I had a question for our HR Director. Just
Mrs. Swoboda Perry, please. Go ahead.
Just for clarification, employees, I understand, but I'm just curious if this is common that also family members would be covered under something like this. I mean, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it is common. So it would be covered dependents. So similar to a health care plan, we cover dependents. In this situation, we would cover dependents, so spouses or children, even adult children. So they could utilize the resource.
That's common. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Ordinance Enforcement and Animal Control Director McIntyre, 2019 F-250 Super Cab 4x4 pickup box delete animal control truck purchase.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to concur with Ordinance Director Jack McIntyre to purchase the new animal control truck. And this is the state bid price of $28,742. Payment upon receipt, and this has been approved in the 2018-19 budget process as outlined in 9D.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Abdullah. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
Just for some clarification, received a lot of emails and phone calls, people asking me questions of why we need a new truck. And I don't know all the particulars other than the truck's a pile of junk.
Director McIntyre, would you like to answer that?
I know there's a lot of things falling off of it, so.
Yeah. So
please explain.
It's a 2007. I think part of the issue is it sat for a long time. Wasn't being used as frequently, but we've had it in the shop almost every 2 weeks for the last. Well, we're not even driving it anymore, but you know, they're driving. We've replaced a water pump and then a water pump seal, and it's just one thing after another. The engine has indicated that it's probably going, and it's time to replace it. The original amount that I had asked in my budget last spring, this price is actually, because I didn't do it in July and I'm doing it now, it actually is cheaper than what, not only by a couple $100s, but maybe it's the time of year, but they offered me a better price right now to purchase it.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're currently using a 2005 truck that we just keep it as a backup, but
okay. Right.
it's not doing well either, so.
All right, thank you. Any further, Councilman Wenzel?
Is this truck completely equipped that we need for 28,000, or is there going to be additional cost to make it into a dog catcher truck?
Yeah, so it's box delete, as what you just approved was box delete, which means there's nothing on the back. What our plan is, and I included this in the budget, is we'll take the existing box that's on the truck that's not working now. The box is in great shape. There's some minor things that are going to have to be repaired on the bottom of it. And we'll have this truck delivered to the original price that I quoted in my budget proposal was using the company that we bought the box from. It was a little surprising to me how much it was going to cost because it's used and it's quite old to have it moved to a new vehicle. But in the meantime, Bill Zimmer suggested I get a hold of Canon on the east side. He came out about 2 weeks ago, and I think he's going to come back at a much better price to convert it. So they'll move everything. We'll get the old one to his lot. The new one will be delivered to his lot. In fact, the dealership, at this particular dealership, they deliver things to Canon all the time for this exact same thing. They'll just move the box from one to the other. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Public Service Administrator Zimmer, the 2018-2019 MI-Deal Road Salt Contract.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat?
I move council approve contract number 17118 with a whole bunch of zeros, 787. I mean, there's so many zeros there, I'd be here a month. Between the state of Michigan and Compass Minerals of America at a price of $61.24 per ton, delivered to our road salt needs for the 2018-2019 winter season as outlined in 9E.
Support by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Public Service Administrator Zimmer, road striping.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that we concur with our DPW Director, Bill Zimmer, and approve RS Contracting to perform road striping services for our city with payment upon completion. Typically, this work costs around $8,000 to do the entire city, and it's part of the 2018-2019 Highway Department budget, as outlined in 9F.
Support by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion?
Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
We're getting into another contract and we don't know the exact price. Somebody's got to come up with an exact price. About $8,000. Is it 6, 9, 12, 8,200? I don't know. Somebody should have a pretty good idea of what the final price is before I say yes on this. I'm not just going to approve a blank contract here, because that's what this is a blank contract.
Okay, any further discussion?
Unless it's modified to say up to $8,000 or something.
Or no more than.
We'd agree to it.
Yeah, so I'd
Not
amend
to
the
exceed
motion
8,000.
Okay, put that in there, not to exceed
Not to
$8,000.
exceed $8,000.
A second.
Thank you.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Bazey. Is there any other discussion on this?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Wenzel.
What roads are these pertaining to?
All of them.
Is it the crosswalk striping part of it?
No, some of the roads it pertains to is Ann Arbor Trail, all the way from Inkster Road to Evergreen, Annapolis, Hass, Gully, our major thoroughfares within the city. Beach Daily in the south end from Michigan to Van Born, those roads.
Okay, it's just the stripes down the middle of the roads, actually, right? Or on the sides, the white one on the side?
The white stripes and the yellow solid and stripes.
Okay. The reason I brought it up is I was contacted by several people about this crosswalk striping at Madison is incomplete. Do you know anything about that? There's only one intersection done on the whole.
Looking into that.
Okay, can you look into that?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have under ordinances and resolutions, Councilwoman Hicks Clayton, resolution amending the City Community Development Block Grant, also known as the CDBG, FY 2018 to 2019 action plan to add the Eaton Senior Center repairs project.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
I move City Council adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Wenzel. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
I just want to note that we had the superintendent from D7 School District come before us at one of our September City Council meetings. And unfortunately, you know, the school district did pay to repair the roof. So whatever was shared in previous years, whatever happened, didn't happen, the roof had to be done, and they did pay for it. It does take away from those students, as we've heard from residents. And I'm not wanting to debate any of this with anyone, but I do feel we've heard from residents. This is imperative. We know that community development block grant monies can be, the funds can be amended, the budget. I've already checked with HUD on that. I have the website here if you want me to pull it up. I have it. We also have a letter that was dated September 19th, which is an omission that clearly states from our Honorable Mayor that the funds can be used for this project, for these projects that are needed. And it talks about the 2018-19 year, but technically we know that puts us into 1920. And I think the urgency of taking care of our building, even though we don't own it, but we've leased it for many years, and we're accountable to our residents as well to make sure they have a safe environment, a safe building that they can go to. And I think we certainly should have learned our lesson from the Canfield Arena that was a city-owned building that was condemned. So we want our residents to be safe. I hope we've learned from that experience and feel that our residents deserve this to be done in a timely fashion. We know that HUD has also allocated additional funds. That was admitted at the last council meeting and shared with all of us, that I think it's $95,000, $98,000. And I know HUD has done that across the board for a lot of communities, but there's an increase of funding. And when I look at the current claim that we have from tonight, we just as a council body approved $28,000. And I respect and love what Vista Maria does, by the way, but if we're going to spend money there, why aren't we spending it in our own backyard for our seniors?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I don't want to debate. I'm not looking for a debate, but I hope to have the council body's support for this.
Okay, any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Constant.
As I understand it, the remaining repairs that have to be done are being paid for by the city, correct?
Yeah, in fact, you'll be getting an update. I'll be sending another update to the superintendent, and I'm copying you on all of them. All of the items, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there were 9 items. 8 of the 9 can be paid for out of the existing general fund budget. The one, and I'll ask Mr. Blackburn to comment on this, is the toilets needing to be raised.
It was a kindergarten through 3rd grade.
Yeah, it was elementary school, so the toilets are at a lower level for children level.
Yes, they are. I've been there. I can tell.
So,
yes.
So the one item, and that was, I think that's going to be pricey, potentially, and I'd ask Mr. Blackburn, I don't know, and I have not received a dollar amount, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the wall, we have to go in back of the wall to figure out how to repair it, or have you already made an estimate?
For the toilets?
Yeah.
For the toilets, in order for them to be raised and for them to meet plumbing code, we would have to actually saw cut the block out, and the plumbing is galvanized because the building's old, so we have a potential of causing more issues once we touch the galvanized plumbing. But we have to cut everything. We have to raise all the plumbing up. We have to raise all the valves up, put everything down. Then once we get the plumbing all set, then we need to reblock everything, and it's going to get costly when you start getting to every single bathroom.
We have Councilman Bazey here.
I have something further in response to that.
Okay, go ahead.
And I understand that, and certainly looking at the email, we talk about the bathrooms, and I've been there as well, and those are simply unacceptable for seniors to expect them to get up and down. if you go through HUD, and HUD does cover this through the Community Development Block Grant, that includes your ADA accessibility and your seniors. And those bathrooms, if we do this through Community Development Block Grant money, there is a bid process that's required. That would be something you would take bids for, and you, again, through the vetting process, you would have a company, actually a contractor, do that work that they're qualified to do, all due respect. But that is why I recommend this as well. That actually supports what I would recommend.
Well, that's why we're in complete agreement. That was why in my report I said, consider pursuing funding through CDBG, because that could be expensive, and we're on the same page. That item, but all the other items can come out of the regular budget. You're making progress on these, aren't you?
Yes, yes we are. And back to the bathrooms there for a minute. If you go out for bids to have all the bathrooms redone, and the bids come up higher than what you have budgeted for, then you have to go back, you have to cut bathrooms out and do it in a couple-year phase project. That item there needs to sit down and have a thoughtful process of how it's going to be done before we just do it. We just can't do it without having a plan of action for that, because it can get expensive. You can have cost overruns if you get into having to change galvanized plumbing out. So that one item's got to be thought through. It can't just be done on a whim and all done at the same time. I see that as not feasible.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Bazey?
Yeah, I just want a clarification. So I know there was a mention of the general fund. This proposal here says that everything to be taken out of the CDBG fund. So I just want to make sure that it's on record, as Councilwoman Hicks Clayton mentioned. Okay. So we should take it out of this fund first before we go to the general fund.
Well, we want this work done as soon as possible, so to wait for CDBG will put a standstill at all of our work. Why would you object to taking out of regular building and maintenance accounts?
Well, I got a question for Director Blackburn then, is how quickly will you begin this work? Will it be finished within the next month?
Which define work?
Any work.
Any of all the items on the list.
He's already working on this.
We are in the process on working on stuff right now. Right now, we're waiting for the asbestos abatement company to come in and remove the asbestos tiles.
Now, when are they scheduled to do that?
They are scheduled October 19th.
Which company?
I don't know. That is done through Recreation.
Council Chair.
Corporate Counsel?
I'm hearing people talk about doing things quickly. I talked to Mr. Hesham about this. He had indicated that doing things this way would take maybe 5 months, and it might be, you might be able to achieve what you want, but you might end up having problems because the amendment process has to go through, like, whenever you have these hearings that take place with CDBG funds, you're going to have to do that. You're going to end up having to propose the plan. It's going to have to go to HUD. You're going to end up having to have public hearings.
All right. Well, we'll hear from Director Hashim.
Yes, our department at CDBG is qualified and capable of doing any type of whatchamacallit, what you're asking us to do, an amendment to our budget. Yes, we can do that. However, in order for us to do that, we need a proposal. That proposal will come from the Parks and Recreation. That proposal will have to have an estimate, and it will have to have specific details of what to be done. We cannot do anything from the block grant for maintenance, period. We cannot do any reimbursement, period. We can do new projects, and we'll be more than happy to do it if that's what you require. However, in order for us to do this, we're talking about 4 to 5 months at least. This is assuming that we get the contract tomorrow. If we don't get the contract with a specific type of work that needs to be done, then we're basically taking more time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Councilman Muscat.
Okay, so right now, we're working on 8 of 9 items because the 9th one is the toilets. It's going to be a lot more planning. Let's leave the price out. It's a lot more planning once you tear down walls and you see old plumbing. I can agree with that 100%. But let me ask, if this resolution should pass, it doesn't mean that we're going to do this, correct?
Yeah.
I would hope we would do the bathrooms, yes.
Well,
it's going to
I
take
understand, but if the bathrooms are already being scheduled to do,
not until
2019. So
which
that's
is
5
again
months?
starts your clock ticking to what you just said, that 5-month period. So now you're pushing it back into 1920. All I'm saying with this resolution is to amend, because you can amend your current budget and do those bathrooms.
Only if we have specific project to do.
Yes,
right.
The bathrooms. Yes.
And that does take 4 to 5 months.
That's correct.
Correct.
Yes, I've acknowledged that. Yes, I've acknowledged that. So
Okay.
we're talking, do it now in 5 months as you go through the process, 5 months from now, or wait till 2019 and start the clock ticking again. See what
5
I'm
months
saying?
from then. Yes, go ahead, please.
This is assuming that we have the funds for that. So whether it's appropriate for us to do it, whether HUD will approve it, all of that is ifs. I'm not saying
Well,
it's not.
we
but I'm
just gave money to Vista Mayo.
Let's vote on it, yeah.
Okay, at this point,
Go through the 5 months step.
okay.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Abdullah?
So I got a question for Director Hashem, just to clarify. So for clarification, I'm all in favor of getting all this stuff done ASAP. So with that focus in mind and getting it done ASAP, what I'm hearing from the mayor is it's much faster. The only thing left, I just want to make sure for clarification, is just the toilets and the abatement of the asbestos, correct?
No. Already, we think we have the funds to do some of the abatement on some of the related projects. The big issue is because Mr. Blackburn just described, we don't know what we're going to face with the toilets. So those, I certainly am of the same belief that using CDBG, I put that in my memo a month ago, because that could be very pricey, and let's get them done as quickly as we can. All the other items, I don't want to wait for CDBG. As Chief Administrator, I'm going to go ahead and authorize and get the work done.
So the only thing, because if we're going to go through CDBG, just thinking about this logically, we've already allocated a budget for that and approved it. Just to go through the federal system to reverse things, I was talking with you before, you mentioned 4 to 5 months, just like you mentioned, it's now a 4 to 5 month period. So with that being the case, would it not make sense to go through our personal?
Councilman Abdullah.
Yes.
Basically, yes, we have to go through the procedure. Then we don't know how much it's going to cost. I believe the only item that we can use, there's $50,000 at this point allocated to the Berman Center. That in this particular fiscal year, 18-19, we can switch that through the amendment procedure. We can switch that. Now, if it's open...
Switch it from the Berwyn?
Yes, through the amendment process that takes 4 to 5 months. We can do that. And I have met with the mayor, I have talked to him about it, and he informed me that he has done a lot of things already on the list. We went through the list together. I visited the Eaton Center myself today, along with Chris. We walked through it. We don't have a new specific project at this point. We want a specific proposal. If somebody's kind enough to give us that, we'll be more than happy to.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any further, Councilwoman?
If I may, please. Then the second page of the resolution, if your eyes go down to the bottom of the page, the item number 2. This talks about what the budget is, what we, as a council body, approved, and it also tells you what HUD provided and allocated. The difference is $95,599. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, at this point, are we ready to vote? Because we've all had our...
I got some more, I need some more clarification. I'm sorry that I have to do this, but I want to support this, and I want to try to find a happy balance here that we're repairing this stuff, and 8 of 9 items are either completed or pretty soon be completed. Right. That's what I'm getting here. And the 9th is the bathroom. If we support this and we continue doing the process that the mayor says, it's still going to take the same amount of time one way or another. And then if we need the extra funds, that if it's too expensive, can we tap into CDBG at that time if we can't afford to do it all from the general budget?
Well, once we allocate the money to the Eaton Center to do that particular project, that money has to be there. So if the general funds does do the bathrooms, for example, and 5 months later, they need more money from us and we have allocated $50,000, for example, that money has to be used for those bathrooms.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we went ahead with the mayor's proposal that we fix it through the general fund, and say the project comes, we say the project's gonna be $110,000. I'm just throwing money out there, okay? And we could only afford out of our general budget $60,000. Can CDBG pick up the rest?
Only if it's done properly through CDBG from the beginning.
Let me correct.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to say something. I was at the Commission on Aging meeting last night, and as far as I was hearing from them, most of the repairs have not been done, and not, I mean, the minor ones, like the food pantry and stuff was, but the bathroom is horrible. You've got cardboard on the floor because tiles are missing, and they're still trying to get bids on it.
Madam Chair, we can't use what the mayor is recommending. It has to be procured under the CDBG
Right.
from the start, which
Well,
is a little bit more cost to it, because then you have to do the Davis-Bacon and you have to do some other issues. So the mayor can start this if he lets us procure this particular bathroom.
I think that's a good idea.
I want to correct Councilman Muscat because I may have misspoke, and
I'm just trying to figure it out.
What I was saying, of the 9 items, and I'll go through them. Holes in the walls of the library bathroom. Timetables, that's going to be done by 10/20. So I assume we will, I don't know where Mr. Blackburn went. Floor tile abatement for cafeteria, hallways in room 5, 8, 10, and 12. And I sent a copy of this to everybody. That is supposed to be completed by 10/20/18. Ceiling tiles need replacement through the building. I was told that was completed. Entrance ramps may not meet ADA requirements. We plan on getting that fall 2018. Peeling paint on awning pavilion in the courtyard has been reported to have lead. That is to be corrected in the fall of 2018. Ceramic tiles is coming off the front of the building. That is to be determined because there's not enough tiles, so we've got to go to an alternative, and they were concerned about matching it. It looks fine. Cement ceiling and pantry storage, I was told that was completed. Tiles buckling in the office restroom to be determined until cause is determined as to what is causing this buckling. The last item was toilets need to be raised. There is not enough money in the general fund building and maintenance to handle this item. So that's why I felt a potential good funding source was CDBG, and I talked to Cassie. So it's that item that we need to look at CDBG to fund.
Okay, at this time, we need to get this.
I'd like to make one statement.
Okay, and then we're going to take a vote.
I just want to clarify
Everybody
one
spoke.
thing. I was asked to clarify this, that the toilets aren't being raised. It's just new toilets being put in. It's not a matter of building up the floor or anything like that. And I talked to 2 different plumbers, and they said in most cases, you won't have to do any additional plumbing work. You just have to purchase the toilet and retrofit it to the existing plumbing, unless you do some damage on the existing pipes and when we're removing them.
Okay.
I myself did a toilet at St. Sebastian. We did the opposite. We had regular-sized toilets, and we converted them down to small toilets. Did 2 in 1 day.
Okay. Okay, at this point, we have a Councilwoman Hicks Clayton's resolution. I think it's time we take a vote. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The resolution is passed. Next, we have new business. We have business license renewal for Fetzer's on the Beach at 5127 South Beach Daily.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that we renew the business license for Fetzer's on the Beach at 5127 South Beach Daily, as outlined in 13A.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have Comments from council members at the table.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank everyone for their discussion on the resolution. I think it's always important to have the dialogue and to hear all sides, of course, and aspects. I think we all have the same goal at hand, and the goal is to do what's best for our residents and look out for our seniors and make sure they have a safe facility that meets their needs. We want it to be a good experience when you go into our senior centers. So thank you to everyone for that.
Okay.
The second thing I have to this evening is I want to extend appreciation to our Wayne County Commissioner Diane Webb and Wayne County, and I know Jaylee's here on her behalf. Or is she here? Oh, hello. So I had received several notices from residents regarding Beach Daily, and of course it was redone and rebuilt, which is a wonderful thing, but we found that it wasn't striped, and there were some serious concerns with safety because people couldn't see, well, there aren't any lines, and at night and with the rain, sometimes when it's wet, they couldn't see, and it was very hazardous, so to speak, looking and seeing where you are. One person drove, I guess was reported, drove in the turn lane all the way down between Warren and Telegraph, and I reached out to our Wayne County Commissioner and through her office with Lisa and put in a request, just hey, what can we do about this? And I want everyone to know that has been taken care of. So thank you so much for doing that. And of course now everyone's asking about the rest of Beach Daily. So
okay, any other comments? Okay, any Councilman Bazey?
No. Go ahead.
Councilman Muscat.
Signs for no parking on
garbage day,
trash pickup day. Again, being flooded with many calls. People are starting to argue with their neighbors again about they're got to run out there and move their trash containers because people are parking in front of their houses and can't get their trash picked up. This ordinance has been on the book now for 2 years. Come on, we got to get on board with this. We've got to get relief for the people. People are starting to fight. You're going to start getting domestic calls here pretty soon, if you haven't already.
Chief Gavin, would you like to speak on that?
Just an update real quick. I talked to Director Zimmer yesterday. So the signs in South End are up from Van Born to Dartmouth, from Telegraph East to the Southfield. So all those signs are posted. And in the North End, supposedly from Warren Avenue North, Hazelton to Inkster. So based on that already, I was informed those, the signs were up. So we're going to start the enforcement beginning next week. It's out, should be on our website that the signs are up, and we're going to start the enforcement. I already talked to the court personnel. So
okay, great, thanks. But
if they're not, I don't know, but that's what I was told by the DPW director.
People are shaking their heads, but remember now, these signs aren't going to be on every street. Right. They're going to be on the entrance of the subdivisions, okay?
Where you go in.
So they're not going to be on every street.
They're not going to be on the interior streets, correct, like Councilman Muscat says. They'll be on Van Born, Telegraph, the streets that come in. So if you're in Heather Lane subdivision, on the inner streets, you're not going to see the signs. They're going to be on Van Born.
And the chief and I informed the court that starting Monday, we didn't want to start in the middle of the week, but starting next Monday, it'll be enforced, and so we let them know.
It also includes the snow warning, snow emergency. So
great.
We should be all set for the winter. So, yep, for our citizens out there, it's been 2 years. It's time not to park on the street during trash day.
Okay, thank you very much. We have Councilman Bazey here.
Okay, so based on the meeting that we had, the special meeting just a few weeks ago about the Warren Valley Golf Course, and I just found out, not through our administration, through the newspaper that we just closed, so that's good. They were owners of the golf course. However, I was concerned about the motion that was put in place at that time. It was too vague. And what I actually like to do, I know it's kind of late to put a motion, but I think I feel compelled to do that. And what I was going to do is if it's okay with the council chair, put a motion by myself to require the city council approval and concurrence for any or agreement by the city of Dearborn Heights or any agent for the city of Dearborn Heights related to Warren Valley Golf Course to go in front of the city council.
Okay.
Madam Chair, point of order.
I would support that. It should come before us.
But
yeah,
I can't enter into agreements, so agreements would come back before this body, so it's not necessary.
So we don't have a problem with this then?
No,
it's actually, yeah, but I still like to put a motion on the floor, and it was seconded by Councilwoman Hicks.
Councilwoman Hicks, second.
And I do support that, and I would say that any agreement, any transaction, whatever, any agent, that would have to come before the city council. So I fully support that because that's a requirement.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So we really don't need a motion of that nature. What we agreed to talk about was doing a deed restriction on the property, which has to be done in a different manner.
Yes, and Madam Chair, that's something that I have been stating for, I don't know how long it's been now, it seems like a long time, that, you know, we want to prohibit any development on that golf course because there's been several reasons, we know those reasons, and that's any development. So I am fully prepared to present that to this council body.
I commend Councilman Bazey for bringing that up. I mean, we had talked about it, but...
and that's, like I said, that's why I'm compelled to put this motion right now, because I realized that in the paper when I read it that we close on the golf course. So I still recommend that we put this motion till Councilwoman Hicks Clayton puts a deed restriction on the property. It's part of the Robert's Rule of Order. Yeah, but you can still do it. It's Robert Rules of Order. It says that if any council member can make a motion, if it's approved by the council chair, second it, then we can go to a vote.
All right.
What is the point? I mean...
Well, I mean, if there's no problem, I don't know why we can't put the motion.
That basically dictates how the golf course is going to be run. That's already been approved by the council. You have a purchase agreement that has been closed on. And now all we're doing is getting the permanent liquor license, since the conditional license has already been approved. So the difficulty is not that any agreement would not be brought back, because all agreements end up being brought back here. The real issue ends up becoming is, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish by virtue of this?
At this point, we do have a motion on the table. Does anyone have any other
Madam Chair, I
discussion?
do have another question since we're talking about Warren Valley Golf Course. Again, I'm prepared to present that no development be made on that golf course. But also my question is, during all the discussion, we've had a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings on this, and we talked about a visioning session, and is that something we're going to see now that the purchase is finalized? Are we going to schedule a time, and it's an open public discussion on what we want to see happen with the golf course moving forward, like expanded recreation opportunities, for example? Will we be able to see that soon? Because we're getting ready to go into downtime, it'd be the time to do it.
The answer to that is yes. We were under certain we were prohibited from the county of making outreaches to the individual running the golf course until we closed. In no uncertain terms, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was kind of told, like, keep your nose out of it until you own it. So now that we own it, we will be having those discussions, and I've had one preliminary discussion with him. Those are concepts and ideas. The real key, and I made it very clear to him, is that it will remain a golf course, and the banquet center is fine, and let's talk in those terms. Now, so that needs to be done. But in addition, I would strongly recommend, because I was holding up one item because I didn't want the two to get intertwined and for the county to back out on the deal. But this body needs to sit down with me and the attorneys and talk about the Ecorse Creek project now that this item has been resolved. And I would That is an item that needs to get put on your agenda pretty quickly. I'm going to be talking with with the attorneys to see what their schedules are like. But that needs to be dealt with, and now we can deal with it.
All right.
And also, we'll bring to you a meeting plan in regards to discussion on the golf course. But the one point that Mr. Miyake made, and if you don't have these agreements, and you should all have them, is a lot of this stuff was assigned. So we already have established operator there.
All right, thank you. We have Councilman Wenzel.
I think with Councilman Abdullah stated earlier, one word in a contract or a motion is really important. I think we should stipulate that not only any building on the golf course, but any properties related to the golf course, the parking lot, out by the street, any properties at all, not just the golf course.
Correct.
And again, this motion here, I just want to make sure before Councilwoman Hicks Clayton, when she puts deed restriction, that, again, I was concerned 3 weeks ago at the special meeting, the wording of the motion. So I want to make sure, again, that anything to do with the golf course has to come in front of the council, in front of the council body, period.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Constant?
Obviously, any agreement regarding the golf course does. We had a resolution or a motion to not buy the golf course a few weeks ago, but we all talked, including Councilman Abdullah, who's got some expertise in real estate, about putting restrictions on property that we're buying before we figure out what the big picture is and what we're going to do. The developers, property's not going to be sold to a developer. It's not going to be developed, houses aren't going to be put on. The city bought it. It's a $1.8 million deal, and we're going to have discussion, but something that's not on the agenda to throw it on and vote on it, I'm not prepared to do. I don't even know what exactly the motion is.
I just read it. You want me to read it again?
Go ahead.
Council Chair. Again, it's per. Okay, let me read the motion. It's motion by Councilman Bill Bazey, seconded by Councilwoman Lisa Hicks Clayton, to require City Council approval and concurrence for any transaction or agreement by the City of Dearborn Heights or any agent for the City of Dearborn Heights related to Warren Valley Golf Course. So anything that happens on there, if there's no problem, I mean, if you say that, okay, this is standard practice, I don't know why there's an issue even putting on,
Well, okay, at this time, we do have a motion on the table. We should take a vote on it.
So let's just vote on it.
Okay, at this time, all those in favor of Councilman Bazey's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
I mean,
The ayes have it. Councilman Constant Abdullah.
That's part of the procedure.
Yeah.
So motion passed.
So we
Motion is
voted it,
passed.
stay the same procedure.
Okay, at this point, is there any other comments from council members?
Madam Chair?
Treasurer?
Get it done.
I'm not treasurer, I'm sorry. Clerk? Mr. Clerk?
The councilman.
Okay, go ahead.
No, just a quick statement. I got a call from one of the residents, and we promised that we'd make this announcement. She asked, it's one of the seniors, and she asked if we could make an announcement, although it's not against the law, but for any neighbors to try to park in front of their own property instead of somebody else's property, because in this particular case, it's starting to be a problem for her. So she asked me to mention, just as a courtesy to a lot of the residents, if you could try to park your cars in front of your own houses so that you could allow other residents next door to you to be able to use that property in front of them. Again, it's not against the law or an ordinance, but just as a common courtesy and just being very neighborly. So I promised her I would, and I agree with her, and hope we all follow that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wenzel?
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. It's good to see a big crowd out here. It's really, thanks for taking time out of your evening.
Well, wait until they give us their comments, then we'll see.
And I'd like to, I want to make an announcement that Todd's Pharmacy on Ford Road and Beach Daily, they accept disposal of prescription drugs there. You wanted me to make that announcement. And one last thing is, everybody turn your porch lights on at night.
Thank you. Councilman Constant.
October 27th, we're going to watershed stewards and anyone else who wants to come. We'll have a lot of the honor students from the high schools. We're cleaning out the rain gardens, putting down the wood chips, weeding. So that's on a Saturday, October 27th. And then we're going to be having an announcement about what's now our Dearborn Area Kiwanis Club, putting on a Veterans Dinner. And I'd like to thank Mark and Carol Slater for spearheading this and doing it year after year. They do a good job.
Okay, any further comments? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're a month away from the election. It appears that it's going to be a pretty good turnout, as evidenced by our absentee ballots. We received 150 requests in the mail today. That's a lot. That's a lot, folks. And we issued 50 over the counter today. So there's a lot of interest in this election, which is a very good thing. One thing I want to caution everybody who's voting absentee, please sign your ballots, okay? You must sign your ballots. If you don't, we will have to contact you if we have your phone number, or we'll send you a letter. You'll have to come in to sign them, or we'll have to spoil it and make arrangements to send you an alternate ballot. Based on projections and based on the primary and what we're expecting, we're making alterations to make it better for our voters and our workers both in certain areas. So please be aware, if you vote at Riverside, normally you're in 2 smaller rooms. We've made arrangements, talked to the principal today, in fact, and he's agreed to give us a cafeteria. So those of you that vote at precincts 7 and 8, it'll be in the cafeteria rather than those 2 rooms. We will, of course, we're going out there to look at the signage, and so everybody will know where to go. In Annapolis, instead of voting in the library, that's precinct 25, I believe. 25, thank you, Barth. We'll be in the gym, and that's going to be a great improvement for our voters in Annapolis. Our voters in Berwyn, 16 and 17, you normally vote coming off the back of the parking lot. I think that's the south entrance, 2 rooms there. We're going to put you in the cafeteria. That'll be a major improvement. One detriment there is some lighting issues, but we're going to look to address that. And those of you at Polk in 26, we're going to have the back entrance and the parking lot opened up. Those of you that voted Polk, I think it's kind of limited parking in the front, and so we're going to have that opened up back there. As I announced last meeting, there will be no straight voting. So just some tips when you're coming to the polls that would really help the situation. Lines, if there are any. Please know where you're supposed to vote. I put this up there, and Stan, I don't know if you can get on that, but this is from the Michigan website, and we also have a link from our elections website to this. And you could put your first name, last name, birth month, and birth year zip code in, or your driver's license and birth month. You can find out where you vote. You can find out if you're a registered voter. You can find your sample ballot. You can find out if you got an absentee ballot sent to you. And you can also find out if we have received that absentee ballot. So there's some valuable information that you can get from there, along with some other things on the side. If you see military and overseas voters, they have a special FPAV website where they can get to and get their ballots emailed to them. So we are trying hard to make this a successful election, and once again, the 2 best things if you're coming to the polls and you're not voting absentee is know where your poll is, know your precinct number, And you can find that out here, or also call our clerk's office. And also know if you're a registered voter. Today was the last day to register to vote, to be able to vote in the November 6th election, 4 weeks from today. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up to announcements for the city.
Hello, Council Chair and Mayor. I just want to talk about a couple of items at the library. First off, tomorrow, Wednesday, October 10th at 7 p.m. at Carrollton County Library, we will be discussing Hear the Roar, the Detroit Tigers' tale. Join Dr. Anderson as he explores the Tigers' storied history through the years and observe how baseball has changed over time. Next, a reminder that Thursday, October 18th at 7 p.m. at Carrollton Kennedy Library, join sports writer Keith Gave as he talks about his book, The Russian Five, a story of espionage, deception, bribery, and courage. Follow the stories of the Russian Five from when they were drafted in 1989 until they hoisted the cup in 1997. Should be interesting. On a more sobering note, next Monday, or not next Monday, but Monday, October 22nd from 1 to 7 p.m. at Carrollton County Library, there will be a free depression screening. Take a free anonymous questionnaire to assess your risk for mood and anxiety disorder. And finally, happy to report that the Friends had another successful book sale. Over $3,000 was raised for programs and items that benefit the library. Thanks to Matt Larrabell and the court for all their help, and of course to the Friends who have come through greatly for the community. That's all for now. Thanks for your time, and see you at the library.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Yes.
Take a number.
I got a couple things I wanted to talk about. First of all, for those of you that watch Fox 2 News today, some of you may be wondering what was walking down Brookside Street today. It's called a tegu lizard. It's not an alligator. It's similar to an iguana and not poisonous. He smelt some cat food that someone had put on their front porch for their cat, and he was helping himself to it when the resident went to step out. He was there and clearly gave him a bit of a fright, but Officer Bunker was able to just pick him up, and we transported him to Michigan Humane Society. Those animals are not allowed. They're pretty commonly, we see them a lot in reptile pet trade. They're very easy to breed. And so it's pretty common. There's probably a lot of residents that actually have them, even though our ordinance doesn't, we don't have licensing in the clerk's office for tegus or monitors, which at first we thought it was a monitor, but we identified it as a tegu lizard. So I wanted to mention that. There's a critter store in Allen Park that has already stepped forward and said that if we can't place him with a reptile rescue, that he'll be glad to rescue him for us. So if the owner is watching this, obviously we want you to reach out to us. He's in a cozy little cage at MHS. We confirm that he does not need fresh salmon twice a day, that he'll be able to eat wet cat food and raw eggs, and he'll be fine. So, but on a more serious note, we are getting an increase of domestic cats that are running around the city. At first, we anticipate that they're feral, and then we're finding that they're not. They're vaccinated. A lot of them have chips in them. I want to remind folks, it's not a good idea if you have a house cat to let your cat out. Cats don't do well on the outside. They're real susceptible to cat diseases, and they become vulnerable to being attacked by dogs and other animals. So if you have a cat, they're going to want to, you can set up other things for them to go outside if they're one of those cats that really needs to be adventurous and go outside. You've seen some of these window apparatuses where they can be in and out at the same time. And then there's some that are shaped like a tent that it'll allow them to be outside, be adventurous, but protect them from being harmed. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about animal control is if you're finding yourself in a situation that you can't afford vaccinations, of course we do a vaccination clinic. If there's some medical procedures, or if you're struggling even to provide food, we would rather help you keep your animal in your house. So we have a lot of rescue groups, including the Michigan Humane Society, that has a food bank It's not difficult to qualify for that, and please contact us if you're having difficulty. We'd rather help you keep your animal in the home instead of letting your animal go where it could be, meet its a demise that we don't want to talk about. So make sure you call us 313-791-3484 is where we send most of the animal calls. If you find yourself in an emergency situation, always call our dispatch 313-277-6770 option 3. Second thing I want to talk about was on your way in, I don't know if you noticed it, but please take a look on your way out. On the large board that's between the staircase and the comptroller's office, we started a project board of commercial businesses that are going up in the city. I definitely want to tell you that our building department, our planning commission, and our zoning commission do a fantastic job in getting these projects going and moving them forward. So as they get finalized in those meetings, either whether it be planning or zoning, I'm asking the developers to give me a 3D print of that so that we can, showcase all the growth that's happening, especially with commercial business. I think by next week I'm going to have some renderings of what some of the options are for the Van Born project. So we'll be putting those up there as well. And then the final announcement I want to make, this is I believe the 10th year. Mark Sobel, who's the manager of the Telljoy Shopping Center, has hosted a trunk or treat every year for, I believe this is his 10th year. This one is Saturday, October 27th. It'll be from noon to 2. Our police and fire will be out there, as well as I think Daryl from B&M Towing is going to bring out the monster tow truck. It's from noon to 2. Anybody's welcome to come. Obviously, kids, little ones up to I think 12 years old or 14 years old is the cutoff in costume. The trunk or treat lasts like 2 hours. It's a lot of fun. They have a clown that's usually out there doing some balloon things. If you'd like to participate as a person with a vehicle that wants to hand out candy, call Mark Sobel, and you'll call him at area code 586-703-8581, or you can email him at mhsobel, so it's mhsoble @cs.com. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Diane Webb.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane Webb, Wayne County Commissioner. I appreciate this opportunity. First, thank you for bringing the delay to our attention as it relates to the lines. So we appreciate that on Beach Daily. Also, I had a newsletter that you were supposed to get, but the mail house got a virus and it held up all of the county commissioners' newsletters for 10 days. So you should be getting it any day, and it'll give you the lowdown on everything, including the increasing values of your homes in Dearborn Heights, which are doing fantastic, and the fact that we're hoping to still get to Joy Road west of Telegraph, 2,800 feet. It won't go all the way to Beach Daily, but it should go most of the way. So I'm still fighting for that, for them to fill the gap, but right now it's listed for 2,800 feet from Telegraph west on Joy Road, and they're saying they're still going to get that done this year. I'm not promising you that, because November 15th is the day they shut down the asphalt factories, and it's right around the corner. So, and with all of the stuff going on with the operating engineers and all the projects thrown off, so we'll have to see. But if it doesn't happen before the end of construction season this year, it will definitely happen in the early spring. So I want to let you know that they do have that on their construction season list. And then what I'm here for today is that already that time again for Make a Senior Smile Day. It's our 10th annual Make a Senior Smile Day, and it's going to be held on November 10th. This is where we gather volunteers from all over Dearborn Heights and Redford Township and Southeast Livonia, and anyone else that's willing to come to those communities, our communities, and volunteer for 3 hours from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. We offer coffee and donuts and juice for the kids. We'll be meeting in Dearborn Heights thanks to the mayor at the Eaton Center. We always hooks us up every year. We really appreciate that, and got to do a shout out to Kim Constant and Kristen Rockensus over there that really help us set that event up. every year, and Jay Lee, who hosts it for me in Dearborn Heights. And then I also, on the north end, if people want to work on the north end, or in Redford and Livonia, we meet at the VFW post on Inkster and 96 there. Hubert O'Grady, VFW post 345. And they do the north end of Dearborn Heights and then north. So, because my district goes from Southfield and Van Born to 8 Mile and Inkster, so it's, you know, try to spread them out. Okay, so, and what we're asking is that if anybody's under 18, that they have an adult with them. Kids can use this for community service hours. So I'm really, really, really encouraging. You have a ton of need, especially on your south end. So every year we get more requests on the south end of Dearborn Heights than we get anywhere else in my district. And I often have to bring in people from other communities to meet the need. So I am asking, trying to get the word out, help me get the word out. You know, Annapolis School comes out every year, the K Kids, the Key Club, really get strong representation from that school. Had some Honor Society from Crestwood come out last time, was a big help to us, but spread the word. We offer, like I say, community service certificates for people who need it for different programs if they're on the Honor Society or whatever, Scouts. So we would appreciate that. We ask that you bring your own rake if you have one. If you don't, we have a few that you can borrow. And if you want to register to be a volunteer, or if you know a senior in need or a disabled veteran in need, because we've extended this to veterans, and we've been helping a few of them out every year, and that number's growing too. 313 is my phone number, 313-224-0930. Have them call us. The more volunteers we get, the more people we can help. In this program, in 10 years, we've helped over 700 seniors and veterans, and we couldn't do it without everybody's help. So thank you all for giving me this, and I'm going to set these over here, and I'm going to pass them down so that you all can put it on your calendar. And we already got sign-ups from your police chief and your fire chief and your mayor and your inspector, and Chrissy comes out and joins us. So I mean, your city people even participate, and we appreciate the heck out of that. That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public announcements?
Real quick on this side first, then I'll let the fire chief go.
Chief
A
Gann.
reminder that Saturday, October 27th, is National Drug Take Back Day. So we'll have some containers in the station. Residents can bring the narcotics into the station, and it'll be turned into the DEA, and they'll dispose of them. So again, that's Saturday, October 27th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, me and Chief Brogan are part of ASAP, which is the Access Substance Abuse Program. So they'll have a table set up there passing out literature on drug abuse.
Okay, thank you very much. Chief Brogan?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. ASAP will also be at our open house. That's what I'm here to remind everybody about tonight. This Saturday, October 13th, is the Firefighters Open House. Both the north and south end fire stations will be open this year. We'll have donuts and cider and coloring books for the kids, and we'll be offering station tours. It's a great chance to meet your firefighters and to get a look at the trucks and equipment they use every day. Along with this, at the headquarters station in the north end, we will have a bounce house, a kid-sized fire hose to put out kid-sized fire simulator, the Wayne County Hazmat team, the Wayne County USAR team, along with a medical helicopter will be there. And we'll be doing several demonstrations throughout the day, including vehicle extrications with the Jaws of Life, firefighter self-rescue techniques, and rope rescue techniques utilized by the USAR team. The fire stations will be open from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. The North End Station is at Ford and Beach. The address is 1999 North Beach Daly Road. And the South End is at Telegraph in Annapolis, and the address there is 4500 South Telegraph. So please come on by, meet your firefighters. Again, this Saturday, October 13th, and we hope to see everybody there.
Okay. Thank you. Any other public comments? Go right ahead.
Hi. Hi, mine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
My name is Carol Slater, and this is my husband, Mark, and it's that time again for our annual Veterans Day Appreciation Dinner. This time, our speaker that we are honoring is veteran John Todd. And John Todd was a gunship pilot. He was shot down twice, struck in combat in Vietnam, and since then he's been teaching. He won many, he deserved, I mean, he achieved many, he earned many awards, and he's been teaching at Rochester College as a law professor for the past 39 years. He does really excellent woodwork, does furniture and things like that, but the interesting thing about the whole thing is he's blind. So his speech will be very empowering. So I just wanted to tell you about that, and here's Mark. He'll tell you more about where and everything.
All right. Thank you very much again for the opportunity to come in front of the council and the community. This is an opportunity for the community to come out and thank our veterans. As citizens, we may not get to rub shoulders with veterans very often. Our military is smaller than it used to be. So this is an opportunity to come out, rub shoulders with veterans, and thank them for their service. The event takes place at the Stitt American Legion Post in Dearborn Heights, which is near the corner of Telegraph and Warren. And it will be on Wednesday, November the 7th, 6:30 p.m. There will be a number of veterans there from the Stitt Post. My wife and I will be going there tomorrow night to make our annual visit and invite the veterans who are hosted complimentary of the Kiwanis Club. And the others in attendance, in addition to the veterans, will be from local high schools. Our Kiwanis also sponsors students to come from Robichaud, Crestwood, Annapolis, Divine Child, about 20 students from each school, so that they also have the opportunity to meet and rub shoulders with veterans. One of the great rewards of the program is having the students there and to see their reaction to being able to meet with the veterans. The hall holds about 200 people. For the last 5 years, we have filled it up with enthusiasm from the community. The mayor always comes, Councilman Constant always comes, Councilman Hicks Clayton always comes, treasurer always comes. So we invite those of you that are new to the council this year to come out also, and all from the community to come out and support. Tickets are $20. We have a tremendous dinner that's served at the Stitt Post. It's a great buffet, very delicious food. So that's a bonus in addition to the opportunity to hear our speaker and honor our veterans. My wife is the box office. She takes care of all the tickets. And the phone number to obtain tickets is 313-561-5778. And we also have tickets with us tonight. We thank you for your time, and please come out and support our veterans.
Thank you.
313-561-5778. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I don't know, did you say Dearborn Heights veterans get in free?
You just did.
Okay. Dearborn Heights veterans get in free.
Okay, any other public announcements?
Okay, this is just a reminder to let everybody know the last meeting for the Southwest Dearborn Heights Neighborhood Association, which is open to everyone. It's located at 25251 Annapolis at Thorne School. That's Annapolis and Gully, that corner. And we will be having our meeting on Wednesday, October 17th, a week from tomorrow, from 7 to 9 p.m. Our featured speaker is going to be a representative from the Senior Alliance. I know most of you aren't that age, but if you'd like to learn for people you know, they will be informing us of little-known services that they offer. So it's our last meeting for this year, and we'll keep you in touch with what's happening in January and whether we stay with the same date and so forth. So,
Time again?
7 to 9 p.m., October 17th, Wednesday next week. And I'm sure they'll have all kinds of information, so bring all your questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Councilman?
These announcements or comments? Is there
This is
difference?
announcements still
Okay.
for the community. Any other announcements for the community?
Just a quick community announcement. Just want to congratulate the Dearborn Heights Crestwood Chargers for being 7-0 and ranked number 8 or 9 in Division II in the state. So that's for the football team. So great job.
Now I will open it up for public comments. Go ahead, sir. State your name, address, and I ask you limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Amir Macklett. I'm actually an attorney in the city of Dearborn. My address is 23756 in Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. And the purpose of my visit today is on behalf of a client of mine. I represent a former city employee named Mohammed Sob. And so the purpose of my visit today is that on September 25th at the council meeting last, and in the local news media, there were a series of comments made about my client that have defamed.
Okay, at this time it's legal. You can't really.
It's nothing legal, and it's a right to public comment. So I'd ask the council to allow me to speak on this behalf, but it's a serious concern of mine. And
Okay, because
on
if it's
behalf of my
going
client.
to be a legal matter, it might not
It won't be a legal
proper.
matter, if, Madam, Ms. Chair.
What do you think?
So in any event.
At this point, we haven't heard anything.
Okay, let me know. Go ahead then.
In any event, comments were made that have defamed my client's reputation at this council board meeting and to local media. And with that being said, an employee of the city of Dearborn Heights that served this city with integrity and honor for nearly 20 years had his reputation tarnished, and the comments that were made about Mr. Sob were done maliciously, reckless, and irresponsibly made without any investigation. And so the purpose of my comments today are to formally demand that the members of this council who made those comments, in particular Councilman Bill Bazey,
Okay, you can't
formally
direct
apologize
anything towards any of the council people. That was
through
part
the
of
chair.
the beginning.
I'm speaking through the chair, but I'm asking that through the chair that these comments are retracted and a formal apology made on behalf of that person who served our city of Dearborn Heights for nearly 2 decades without any issues on his record. And so I reiterate that the comments were contained at this council meeting and in local media were maliciously false, and it's our contention were done for a political gain and purpose at the shortcoming of my client, and really for the purpose of attacking the current administration, which I think is improperly done. And my client is deeply concerned about those comments and deeply concerned about any further comments that would be made against him. And so at this point, as I've indicated, I'm only formally asking that those comments be retracted and an apology be made to that former employee of this city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comments? Name, address, and limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Chris Klimchak, City of Dearborn Heights CDBG Program Administrator. I'd like to just make a few comments. As the original producer, director, and editor of Government Access back in 1985 and 88, I'm happy to hear you're still using some of the equipment that I did, but I look forward to watching you move into the digital age, and hope that goes well. So I'll be watching that closely, being a radio TV graduate from U of D. So just a couple comments. Councilwoman Hicks Clayton, I appreciate your overall accuracy on your motion. I just want to clarify one point on the $95,599 number. It's not technically an additional amount we got. That was an increase from the fiscal year 17-18 budget of that amount, but that was budgeted in with all the current programs and projects that are coming up. We are expecting funding approval for that any day now, so technically we still haven't received our funding approval, but we're waiting. I look forward to working per the direction of the mayor and Director Hashem on the Eaton improvement or and any other projects that come up, and we will vet those out and follow our normal process and procedure under HUD requirements to do that. Reminder, our upcoming NOFA for the 1920 year will be coming up in mid-November, so we will begin to accept proposals for the program year that starts next July 1, and that's something to consider as well for proposals for that as well. Maybe we may have to consider something for Eaton depending on the proposal and budget that's established for that, but I look forward to working per the direction of the mayor on that. Let's see, I made my notes here. I'm trying to read my writing, and I think that was it, and I appreciate your time. Oh, one more reminder. There is an ADA restroom at Eaton available for use that CDBG funded a number of years back. So as we await maybe the other renovations on any other restrooms, there is a restroom available there that is ADA compliant. And we do, for past several years, we have put CDBG funding support into both the Berwyn and Eaton centers, averaging about $100,000 per year. So we have been funding the centers consistently for a number of years, and we look forward to supporting those in the future as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, name, address, and limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Suzanne Todd, Academy Street. Actually, 3 questions. The WDHT cable studio, will that money come from grants, or is that going to have to come from the city budget?
It's big money. It's PEG funds. It's restricted funds just to use the cable equipment.
Just for, it can't be used for anything else?
Correct. It can't even be used for salaries for cable studio.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the no parking signs for Trash Day, I believe Chief Gavin said that they were on Van Born Road. Is that the only road that they're going to be on? Because I have not seen any others in my part of the city. We don't live in a subdivision. We're just part of South Dearborn Heights.
The no parking on trash days, we started in the south end from Southfield to Telegraph, from Van Born to Dartmouth. After we get that section completed, then we are going to do a section in north end and from Joy Road to Ann Arbor Trail, from Hazelton all the way over to Telegraph.
What streets in the south end, like from Van Born, are you going to put them on Annapolis or?
No, they are on all of the side streets going from Van Born into the subdivision. As soon as you pull on a street like
I know that's a Brookside subdivision, but we're way behind that. We're behind the creek. What about us over there?
No, it's going, the signs are going along Van Born, and they're going along Telegraph, they're going along Dartmouth. It's like a complete box on the outside, so when you pull in, you see a sign when you pull in on any street.
Okay, so it's going to be boxed around Van Born.
Yes.
Telegraph, Dartmouth,
Southfield.
And Southfield.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You should have one on Academy and Dartmouth on that corner, correct?
There should be one on Academy and Dartmouth.
On Academy and Van Born. Yeah. Academy and Van Born, yeah.
No, not Academy and Van Born, Academy and Dartmouth. That's the dividing line between Dearborn and Dearborn Heights.
All the way down to...
I was just talking with Bill about this today. So everything, if your back is to Van Born and you're pulling into any street from Academy all the way to Fleming, I guess would be the last street.
Yeah, but see, that's...
They're all coming inbound. The next step will be coming the other direction.
Okay, from Dartmouth to the creek then.
Okay.
So
we're trying to get all the entrance points in the whole parameter of the city to start.
Okay, because when someone said they were all put up, I'm like, well, I only live 8 houses from Dartmouth, so I wanted to make sure that we were going to have a sign there. Otherwise. And the other thing I'd like to just thank the council for passing the resolution. And I would also like to make one recommendation, that we make sure that there are deed restrictions on the Warren Valley Golf Course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Name, address, and limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. I'll make it short and sweet and simple and to the point. Elaine Krozak. I live on Lincoln Boulevard. I would just like to say to the council, thank you for passing agenda item 11A. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Public comment? Name, address, and limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening again. Zuhair Abdelhat, 354 Rosemary. Thank you, David, for the comment that last study session was very civilized. There was lots of things accomplished through civilized conversation with the mayor and the city council, and I hope we keep it that way. I just need to ask, this money from WOW, AT&T, and Comcast, why it is restricted? Under what law, under what ordinance?
It originally was restricted when the city entered into contracts for the charter that allowed the 3 companies to offer their business to all of us. So all of us that have cable TV, there is on the bill a certain item on there, and that's that PEG fee. Okay. I think it's itemized. I have Comcast. I'm not advertising, but I'm pretty sure it's on the bill. And that money comes over to the city. That was per the original franchise agreement. The state superseded it, but kept those PEG fees. So they've always been restricted. I would say they're probably restricted by state law, and they're also restricted by the original franchise agreement as modified by the state of Michigan.
They may also be restricted under federal.
Can we use that money, if it is available in restricted fund, to modify this room and to modify all the, the cameras? Because I remember one time somebody spoke here, and next day the tape was ruined, so we couldn't hear the audio. We had to go to the clerk to get the audio, then send it someplace to put it together with the video. So I hope that doesn't happen again, and I think it is money worth spent, because I like to see this room really in A1 shape.
I'm not sure the room, can it be?
The audio will be modified, the carpet cannot, the chairs cannot.
Can we put TV monitors? Can we stream it live?
We're not gonna stream it live, but there is gonna be possibility to stand as we have to be set up here. We'll have cameras. We're hoping they have cameras here set up in different ways where he can be right back in the studio just monitoring it, similar to Westland and other communities where he doesn't have to physically be here moving the cameras.
Okay. And the second item, Mr. Mayor, I made a comment about being overcharged for the CSO, and I'm sorry to hear it, to bring it again, but I like to read from Miller Canfield letter dated June 30th, 2015. The fact that the city had an accumulated balance of over 6.8 million as of June 30th, 2014 means that the city levied the CSO millage at a higher rate than necessary to pay the obligation that were intended to be paid from the CSO. So when I mentioned that we were, over levied on the millage, I wasn't wrong. I think the letter cleared that. The last thing, I want everybody to know, I sat with Mr. Subh and 2 people who are present in this room here. And he asked me to FOIA all the document on the property which is in question. So I did next day in the morning FOIA all the document to see on his request if there is anything wrong on that property. And I'm hoping that I will get those documents within the next few days before we ask people to apologize or not, or before the police start an investigation and take the files to the police station. I hope we have to hold on, little bit, because the reputation of people is very valuable, and we cannot, just say some things then we regret. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, do I hear a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up. Name, address, and 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Najim Seymour with CDPA Architects, 6 Park Lane Boulevard in Dearborn. I'm here for a project that was approved by the Zoning Board and Planning Commission in April of this year. This is the southwest corner of Ford Road and Beach Daily. I'm sorry, John Daly. The project is a go. However, there's a drive-through that was subject to a change of zoning that the council was going to undertake. But my understanding is that the change of zoning was tabled in May, and we're kind of at a limbo right now, because we can't move forward, can't do anything until some kind of action is taken by the city council on this subject. So we went to the building department today.
Refused to vote on it.
Continue, sir.
We went to the building department today seeking direction, and they asked us to come here. So
okay.
It's a good project, and I hope it gets approved. I would hope the council would approve that drive-through, because you need it.
Council Chair, we need to schedule a study session on that.
You're right. We'll study it. We'll schedule a study session for that for you.
Didn't we have kind of a study session already on it? I thought we did. Or I know we talked about it.
We talked about it. I don't think we did.
I'm, Council Chair.
Councilman Abdallah?
I'm fully in favor of doing whatever we can. I know Starbucks is going to go in there and do whatever we can to allow new companies, especially major companies like Starbucks, unless there's been a change, but from what I understand, it's the Starbucks, to have major corporations that are national come into our city and open up. I'm all in favor of it, and I'm all in favor of doing whatever we can to help them be there. So whatever I can do to help, I'm all in favor. So long as it doesn't, obviously, I know one of the concerns of some of the council people was the effects on some of the residents behind there as far as noise and what have you. So, and then also the in and out egress, as far as in and out, as far as. I appreciate that, and I understand. I was not with the project in April, but I understand all these issues were resolved as far as the turning onto Ford Road, the left turn and left turn on John Daly. And I also sense support for this project, at your council and also at the building department, but there's no direction on how to implement it. This is the problem.
Mm-hmm. If I might, Councilman, this body has already taken a motion after the approved agenda. Why don't you offer a motion allowing this gentleman so we can get this project going?
We're
beyond that. We're in
I have no problem with moving forward with it. So
the problem with doing a study session. I think we should, and do it as soon as possible.
Okay, the only thing on a study, and I don't mind a study session, but the only thing on a study session, I just don't know it's within our realm to decide who's coming in, who's coming out, versus the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission who make these types of decisions, and of course the Building Department. So I just don't want to be overstepping our boundaries of what.
You know what, and you're correct on that. Yes,
can we just put this back on the agenda?
You can do it right now.
We can do it right now.
Yeah, what he needed was, there is in the zoning that he had, is there anybody, do you remember, Jack? But my understanding was it would permit the drive-through restaurant in his particular zoning. It affects 2 properties, your property and the old roasting plant, that we allowed to open because we all made the assumption this council would not have a problem with it. and they've subsequently closed, but they still have that thing. So both of you, that is what's needed.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I was at a lot of the planning meetings. I feel surprised that we're at this point because I thought it was approved. The planner at the time even made modifications to the building so that it could accommodate more people in the potential drive-through. And if I could just, I know this point has been made before. Right down the street from here is a Tim Hortons that's in a much smaller space than what they're talking about, and they've been.
That's on the Dearborn side, though. That's not.
I know it's Dearborn. I know, but I'm just making a point that if you, I go there almost every day. I'll go to Starbucks too, but Tim Hortons is so close. But they accommodate. I counted the other day. They also have the ability to have about 15 or 16 cars in their drive-through and it not affect the Ford Road traffic. And their entrance to their drive-through is actually closer than what this gentleman's drive-through entrance will be. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay.
I would like to leave with 2 points that for you to consider. Okay, that the plans for and the contractors for implementing this structure are ready. The second thing is that Starbucks, we believe, and my client, this is an important, tenant for him. And keeping on Starbucks for longer than 5 months, the past 5 months, it's becoming very difficult. So we really need some resolution so that we can, have a shovel in the ground.
Madam Chair, I was going to say, the Planning Commission, this is what their oversight is, and they made the recommendation. If the issues have been addressed and resolved, we should not be holding this business up. We should be embracing a new business and would move to support that or make the motion. Have it done.
Yeah, correct. And I would support the motion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the plans as submitted by, I don't know what the name of your entity specifically. CDPA. Provided that you have complied with all the conditions of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which from what we understand has been approved, but provided they have been approved, I make a motion that we approve it and we move forward with this.
If I may, including the drive-through, so there's no question in the future.
We have Councilwoman Hicks Clayton seconding the motion. Let's take a vote on it. Or you want to discuss it any further? I think we've discussed it. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
Got your drive-through.
Thank you.
You have a good night now.
Wait, we get free Starbucks?
We're kidding.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, do I hear a motion to end our meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Do I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Meeting is adjourned.